Welcome to episode 12. Today's guest is Umi Jenevieve. This intro is a bit long, but I hope you'll stick with me until the end. In this episode, Umi talks about what it's like being a Taurus moon, her thoughts on exaltations. For example, the moon in Taurus is exalted, which just means that the moon feels most comfortable in Taurus, the role of numbers and math in astrology, her practice tracking the moon, the connections between family and astrology, and so much more. At first, I was going to say astrology is like the weather, but actually, astrology is the weather, cosmic weather, that is, and astrologers are the newscasters, letting us know about when it will be really sunny or cold outside, temperature changes, when it will be rainy with a chance of thunderstorms and lightning, if it will be foggy on a particular day, or if a hurricane is on the way. For me, at least, being aware of astrology is also included in reconnecting to or reintegrating back into life, which also includes reconnecting to our bodies, the land, the waters, our dreams, ancestors, etc. Reconnecting back to the movement of the stars as something ordinary and a regular part of life. Speaking of newscasters, where do you get your news? I'm really asking, where do you check the weather? It's the same with astrologers, finding different news channels that have different anchors, all communicating the same possible weather outcomes, but with their own perspective, style, and vibe. I love learning about astrology and getting news about the earthly cosmic weather from Umi. Oftentimes, she calls her news reports transit checks. Before I go on, I want to give a disclaimer. First, this episode is more for intermediate, advanced, and seasoned students and teachers of astrology, but I still encourage anyone new to astrology to listen to it because even with all the astro lingo that we use, I still think there's many parts that any of you curious beginners out there can understand and relate to. At some point in the episode, I tell Umi how I'm passionate about helping people understand how helpful astrology is. And she gives a great reminder that astrological insight and insight in general is available in other sacred arts and sciences outside of astrology that people may gravitate more toward, like tarot, human design, human design, different clairvoyances, birding. Yes, I said birding. Deciphering whale communication or any kind of communication from ocean life, soil tending, harvesting roots, herbal medicine, even collecting eDNA. eDNA stands for environmental DNA, if I'm correct. There's so many ways to be in relationship with the earth and the cosmos. Secondly, oh my gosh, my voice is really cracky today. I hate that. I hate it. Oh my gosh. I think there are aspects of astrology that could be or are controversial, like planets that are labeled benefic or malefic, meaning planets that are associated with more desirable things happening based on how they're aspected, like Venus and Jupiter, versus less desirable things happening based on how the planets are aspected, like Mars and Pluto. Another example is the North and South nodes and destiny. Is it destined that someone goes missing? Is it destined that someone becomes famous? I know destiny can be an activating word. We also talk about karma in relation to family later in the episode. that word could be activating for folks too. Now, for the record, I think karma is the consequences of one's choices and actions, and the consequences of the choices and actions of those before us in our lineages. All I'd say is I wish I could be in a small study group where we research, reflect on, and unpack destiny and karma and see what unfolds. Dive into the numerical depths of the concept of the North and South Node and see what trash and treasures we find. Another controversy I notice every year is whether it's okay or not to look at solar eclipses, or any eclipses for that matter. It's about keeping our eyes safe, yes, but I've also come across posts on social media that talk about to look or not to look from a spiritual, cultural perspective. Other folks think it's all bullshit and just go ahead and look at the eclipse if you want to. Can you think of other differing opinions and debates in astrology? I'm saying all this to acknowledge what astrology and maybe my interview with Umi might bring up for you, dear listeners. That astrology is this body of cycles and knowledge and a greater contextual reality that can, especially once you start learning more about it, bring up different feelings, questions, opinions, etc. What keeps me open to astrology is my own lived experience validating its authenticity. Also, just being curious, personally enjoying astral research and experimentation, and observing and respecting the power of astrological patterns. Sometimes I feel like astrology is chalked down to just being something out there that is superficial and silly to make fun of, when underneath all the emotions, stories, poetics, and opinions around it are the numbers, shapes, and patterns that astrologers have been tracking for thousands of years. Very right and left brain. Usually, I'm advocating for people to value the emotional, storied, artsy side of things. But I feel like in this instance, I'm advocating for people to value the number and pattern side of things. Luckily, it's all connected and intertwined. To give you an example of what I mean by patterns and learning the pattern language of astrology, um, here's an example. I could be confused, upset, or resistant about XYZ being destined, but studying astrology is like a science experiment. If there are 100 people who all have different natal charts, and 50 people with their own unique nuanced natal chart out of this 100 have the same placement, like the North Node in Sagittarius, I'm going to interview these folks about their lives and see what they have in common, jot down their differences, and pinpoint patterns. When you are aware of and notice patterns, this can help you make decisions. Umi is a gifted astrologer, especially when it comes to picking up on patterns. At the beginning of the episode, she talks about how intuitively astrological information comes to her. I believe there are people in the world who have the incredible gift of recognizing patterns, especially with ease. When these folks share their gifts, it is a gift to all of us who learn from them. Umi's Instagram account is chock full of knowledge and insight. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came and scooped her right up to work for them. Don't underestimate the power of having an astrologer on your team or advisory council. Catch it. I've always wanted to say it because I've seen that lady on Instagram who like gives all this advice, and either at the beginning or the end, she's like, catch it. I've learned so much from Umi, like tracking the moon, which she talks about in the episode. Speaking of the moon, shout out to the upcoming full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio moons tend to carry or deliver potent medicine. After being out at sea last summer, getting seasick multiple times, and throwing up over the side of the boat, which was not fun, essentially purging and feeling better afterward, Scorpio moons can be like the ocean. My first reading with Umi was last fall, and she helped me understand the Gemini energy in my chart. Now, if you know anything about Gemini, you know there's jokes about Gemini. There's jokes about all the signs, but especially Gemini in all its faces. Giving readings myself, where I've read for people who also have significant Gemini energy in their chart, I think, especially for Geminis who are not only often misunderstood by others, but can misunderstand themselves because of the negative messages, people get about how Gemini expresses itself. It's really helpful to learn more about Gemini to understand the beauty of our perspectives, our gifts, tendencies, and what we can improve on. And actually, once I publish this episode, I'm going to go back and rewatch the recording of my reading with Umi. So, yeah, please go check out her social media. The links will be in the show notes, and book a reading. Now, a little bit more about her. Umi's bio is short and sweet. Oh, gosh, I feel like I'm tripping over my words. Umi's bio is short and sweet. Umi Jenevieve is an astrologer, creative writer, and aspiring radio host. A reflection from this episode. There's so much to reflect on in this episode, like always, but today I'm going to share one reflection, and that's focused on family, constellations, and astrology. First off, if you are a person listening to this who doesn't know much about your family and or you don't have access to their birth times and locations to pull up their charts, I understand how that might feel frustrating or like a roadblock. In addition to trying to find out any information about your family, if that's possible, I recommend you also direct that energy into learning even more about yourself through your chart, and if not through your chart, just getting to know yourself. Both ways can support you in tending to your self-knowledge. I hope this is helpful. All right, so with the natal chart being connected to family, I think it's important to say that I don't want to spend a lot of time proving that this is real. I think there can and will be a million opinions about lineage and astrology. I again encourage anyone interested in understanding the connection between family and astrology more to approach it with curiosity, questions, openness, and a spirit of learning and being comfortable with not having all the answers. Secondly, it's only in the last 2 years or so I've learned how my natal chart is not just random information, but informed by my parents, my grandparents, my mother's pregnancy, and both of our womb and birthing experiences. This is why I'm so passionate about reproductive health and birth work, because it's earthly and cosmic, and midwives and in all their humanness are literally connected to portals, time, and the universe, and they need as much support as possible. Definitely recommend you check out episode 5. I think it's episode 5, Waiting at the Portal of Life and Death, with traditional midwife Joyelle Arvea, to hear more about her experiences. When I learned that I have certain placements based on my parents and their relationship dynamic with each other, and based on my overall family dynamic, I looked up my grandmother's chart, my mom's chart, and most of my siblings' charts to see, differences and similarities in placements and astrological energies, and also reflected on their lives. Umi is the first astrologer I've come across who gives parent and child readings and family readings to learn more about your lineage through an astrological lens. She's really fed my interest in all things fourth house, which is connected to roots, land and water, the womb space, mothers, family, lineage, ancestry, home, housing, the moon, and more. My grandmother is a Gemini and Taurus because her birthday is on the cusp, and I believe I am a Gemini moon, with the moon representing the womb, mothers, grandmothers, among other things, because of my grandmother. I could totally nerd out on this stuff. I research and absorb this topic of family and astrology lightly and attentively, many times with alertness and awe. Family can be heavy for some, including me, so I take it all in slowly. Finally, Umi and I talk about my progressed Saturn in the second house. Saturn often signifies delays, limitations, and setbacks, and the second house is related to resourcefulness, money, earned income, finances, assets, material things. I'll be real and say Saturn has told me repeatedly what I need to do to be better with money, but I wouldn't listen for so long. And only until yesterday, I'm serious, only until yesterday did I finally surrender to Saturn in my second house. It's been a long time coming. Over 2 years ago, I started realizing how both awake and deeply unconscious I am in the second house. I wonder about other people having similar experiences in this house and other houses. Umi talks about the ancestral dimension of this placement, and it's true that I never received any financial literacy or guidance in my family or grade school because the people before me in the lineage who raised me never received financial literacy or a financial foundation to build on. Even though I didn't grow up with financial literacy and it feels unfair, at the end of the day, it's my responsibility, Saturn, to honor my limitations, educate myself, and do better. Alongside this, what's really important to me is joining spiritual astrological information like this with, with history, which informs today. There's history and context of which the current administration are so determined to downplay and erase for why my maternal lines are in this country. I was raised by a lineage where financial literacy and material wealth wasn't present, but this lineage also descends from enslaved Africans whose free labor was used to build the stability and wealth of white families. That's a part of this country's history, and everything I just said is encapsulated in my last name, Johnson. Although many of us on Turtle Island, specifically in the US, are reckoning with the transatlantic slave trade through books, art, museums, and holidays, we still need the material reckoning. Taking an inquiry-based approach in relation to knowing we can track astrological transits and history side by side, I wonder, how has slavery shaped my greater family constellation, which was separated and fragmented? How has slavery shaped my, um, sorry, how has slavery shaped my immediate family and how they have experienced life? How has slavery, Jim Crow, historical lack of opportunities, and intentional hindrance of success discrimination, redlining, and more impacted the astrology and futures of my family? And what is the role of astrology in a transatlantic slave trade? What I'm asking folks to do, especially if you have a certain level of astrological education and you're interested in learning about the role of astrology in our personal and collective lives, is to ask questions. For example, I'm deeply disturbed by what is possible when Mars transits Cancer. As an astro nerd, I'm not interested in reacting. I want to learn more and look back in the astrological archives of time to understand how Mars in Cancer has expressed itself in the past, track when Mars and the Moon link up or come in contact, and research what patterns people have tracked with this relationship over time. Another example is, how might learning about the astrology chart of the United States help us with collective liberation? Back to my progressed Saturn being in the second house, it's not just about me waking up to what I need to do to create a sustainable life for myself, but recognizing the ancestral unconscious and ancestral wounds I carry and include historical context and memory in this recognition. Astrology is many things, and one of them is to help us grow, change, and evolve and be the best versions of ourselves for ourselves, but also for the people before us who might not have known anything about astrology or had any encouragement, support, or opportunities in life, and for those after us to support them in having better lives. Thank you for sticking with me this far. I will I will end by saying happy full moon in Scorpio. All right, listeners, if you can slash want to, please take your time listening to this episode. Make a cup of tea at home, find a cozy cafe, or listen on the go. Either way, I hope you find at least one thing in this episode that is interesting, sparks your curiosity, is helpful, or inspiring in some way. Until next time. Welcome to the podcast, Umi. I am so excited to interview you. So excited. And like always, I like to ask the guests, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, feeling good. I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to support this. So it's all, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. So whenever I get an opportunity to like do like any type of collaboration, I'm like so excited. So thank you. I'm doing good. How you doing?
That's great. Thank you for asking. I'm doing okay. There's a lot of different things that I'm trying to work through, the to-do list. So just trying to get through that, but also rest, watch a movie, you know. um so I know I've said this several times on the podcast, but I am truly honored to interview you. I've learned a lot from you as an astrologer. You're the first astrologer on this podcast because I plan on interviewing, more astrologers, but it means a lot that you're the first astrologer that I'm connecting with on Meet Me at the Through Line. And the first question I have for you is, how did you even get into astrology?
I feel like it found me. I've always been into signs. I've always been into the metaphysical, esoteric. I come from a family that does that. But I know that so my family's from Haiti. So, and I know that Haiti, like for me to live there, and I plan to live there one day, um, it's kind of hard right now. And like just economically, mentally, psychologically, I would have to do so many things to like leave the States, like for me to even be like, okay, I'm doing this. And that'll come one day. but I love the spiritual realm. I love all the like witchery movies. I'm into all like I've always been into psychology. I've always been someone that's like, why do people think like this? And astrology found me during the like it was before the pandemic, but I got a bigger platform during the pandemic. So I started since 2016, and it was somewhere for me to. 'Cause I was going through my own like dark night of the soul, and I just dived into this. I started getting into like Instagram, Facebook groups about astrology. And then I was like, you know what? Let me do some videos. Let me showcase what I've learned, right? And then it just came in intuitively. Like there was just things where because I could understand the sign, it was just connecting. So I felt like it was something that I always enjoyed since a kid. And because I had now a lot of time on my hands to figure myself out, this just was like, hey, let's dive into this. And it just came in so intuitively. Like, I wish I could explain, but the signs are like, it's like little, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like real to me. Like, it's just so real. It's like a formula that is like mathematical formula that just works, works, works. So it found me. I feel like it found me. I didn't chase it. We're chasing each other.
Wow. Wow. Well, I feel like as a person who, tunes into what you share regularly and, I've gotten a reading from you, I feel like I can feel and sense how astrology just flows through you because you just be sharing stuff where I'm like, wow, that's dope. And I have some questions further down which will kind of illuminate more what I mean by that. But I'm glad that astrology found you. Maybe astrology is something that, we can all kind of channel astrology, but I do think there are some conduits, some people where it comes in a particular way that's really helpful. Um and because there are probably listeners who are new to astrology, like, how would you describe astrology to someone who doesn't know anything about it? They're curious about it, or maybe they're skeptical. Like, what would you say to them?
Look at it as a formula. There's many formulas to life. This is a sacred formula that would help you figure out not only where you come from, what you've inherited, plan out your months, your years, your days through this. It's the core of it is built on numbers. And if you trust numbers, then you are, and if you like anyone, numbers is mathematics is universal. If you understand that that math is a formula, this will help you understand it as well. And if you're into like not only just mathematics, psychology, that's a huge part to this. This will help you. And also collective consciousness. A lot of people know their signs, even if they know nothing about it. Why is something so collectively contagious? There's something to it. So that's how I'd explain it to them. Then I'd be like, tell me your birthday. Let's do it right
Yeah,
now.
right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that. See, that's the thing. That's what really was a game changer for me. I have this in another question, the numbers. Because I feel like for me, which it's totally fine, the like the kind of, I don't know, the poetic interpretation, which I love. That's wonderful too, but the numbers really, it just changed the game entirely for me, where it's like, wow, I'm finally understanding what's going on, and so my thank you for sharing that, because we're going to circle back to the numbers. But we are recording this a few days before we enter Taurus season, which is on April 20th. And if I'm right, on IG, I remember you saying you're a Taurus moon. Are you a
Yeah.
Taurus moon?
Yep. One of my favorite.
Hey, Taurus moons. I love Taurus moons. I'm a Taurus moon in sidereal astrology. But I'm a Gemini moon. Um, it's probably tropical astrology. But to celebrate this new moon in Taurus that's coming up on April 27th, I'd love to know, what is it like being a Taurus moon? Because at first I was going to be like, you're a Scorpio sun too, right? Because I'm a Scorpio sun.
Ooh, okay. Hey, sis.
Yeah. And and see, but I was like, well, that new moon is coming up. So now I'm like, what is it like being a Taurus moon?
Um, so on paper, and I say this about all exaltations because the moon is exalted in Taurus. On paper, great placements when you have exaltations, Jupiter in Cancer, Moon in Taurus, these things, Sun in Aries. But the thing is, it holds so much esteem that in the real world, it can be a heavy placement to carry. Because, example, a lot of Taurus moons will feel like I should be rich already. I should have all these wonderful things, these possessions. And they'll find that in life, this is what they're trying to get on paper, but throughout the journey of it, they have to learn how to value these things. So as much as I love my moon shows me, and maybe if other Taurus moons feel this way, it's not until we really figure out what we want, how much we're willing to, Scorpio, sacrifice for the things we want, just so we can get them. Because that's the thing with Taurus. It's more, and also like desire, need them. Taurus is the second house. So it's about how we've learned to enjoy food, enjoy family, morals, ethics, our comfort zones, our culture. Moon exalted in Taurus, since the moon is about culture. So it's all the things that we've learned and conditioned to like. But then you get into the real world, like your adult world, and you're like, maybe the things I was taught to eat, like, consume, aren't that good for me. So Taurus has to really sit with, what do I want in so many different journeys of their life for them to attain. When they're wishy-washy, Venus, indecisive, shaky with what they want, they don't receive it. That's why you can find a lot of Tauruses who call broke. Oh my God, I don't have it. Oh my God, I can't share. I'm broke. Right? So it's really big for me, since I'm in my Taurus perfection year as well. What do I want? And a lot of has changed in this past, like, since my birthday in November. I had to change my diet, and I had to really work on my consumption, like change my diet completely. There's things I don't eat, and other things have come because I purge. Other things have come because I've purged based on what I really want. It's had to really open up just a few things of how do I want to stabilize in this lifetime, and where are my comfort zones now killing me. And I think that's a big thing as a Taurus, like as a Taurus moon, because a lot of them can operate in scarcity, even though people are like, you have everything. A lot of them struggles, like, with this placement. But on the good side, it's good. It's a placement about ambiance. A lot of Taurus placements I feel on the moon are very attractive. They can bring a lot of abundance, but they like to cry broke. All fixed. But Taurus has this thing with, do I have enough? And that's one of my big questions in this lifetime.
Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah, I do. If I am honest, sometimes I do look at the exaltations as like, you know, and because I'm a Taurus moon in sidereal astrology, but I don't know. I'm still trying to fill out how I experience that moon because I'm a Gemini moon, but I'm a progress Virgo moon. So I feel like, you know, what you're speaking about, like Taurus moons kind of sitting with, like, what do you want? What do you desire? I feel like that's so powerful because it's like once you can connect to what you want, what actually makes you feel good and comfortable, it's like, I don't know, what does that do? Like you found the class that you actually want to take. You found you know what I'm saying? Have you experienced that where like this is the thing that makes you feel good or that is actually is exciting for you in life? Have
Definitely with, yeah, definitely with finding what I like. And I won't even open up with your Venus dominance. So like with your Venus, anyone who has Venus energy, so Libra, Taurus, and Venus exalted in Pisces, a big question is, are you ashamed of what you like? Are you comparing what you like to other people? Because that could be the thing with a Taurus, a Libra, a Pisces, that they're told to like certain things all their life, and they're told to act a certain way and to be attracted to certain things. That's why they're pushovers, that they might realize that they like things that are more platonic, Martian, but they're ashamed. You'll find that a lot of Taurus, Libra, and Piscean women can date some of the most grotesque of men and
Oh
keep them
no.
low. Keep them on the low because it's like, oh my God, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to make other people uncomfortable. And what you were just saying was perfect. You found the class that you like, even though no one there looks like you, or no one there, or no one in your family understands, or maybe your lover just doesn't get it. They rather do their own thing, but you're finding yourself. You're finding what you like unapologetically. That's perfect. I also want to answer your second question. You'll naturally go into progression. So depending on the degree of your moon, um, see how long that takes to get to 29, and then around and from that, like subtracting that, you'll see when you progressed into the Taurus moon. I'm sorry, you said you're Gemini. Your Gemini energy. You'll progress into that Cancer energy. Um, Also, let's say depending on the degree, I'm going to open this up still. Let's say it's like 0 degree Gemini or 29-degree Gemini. Think of the year prior of your birth and look to see what was happening that was so Taurus.
Mm. Oh, I'm
Um,
gonna do that.
if they were at those
Mm.
critical degrees, because the year before you're born is so important when you're at critical degrees, even if it's in other planets too. But if you have 0, void, or 29, the year before your birth is so important to your parents staying together, what's happening with the conception, few things there. If it's in Gemini and you want to do a past life into that
Oh
Taurus.
my Lord. See, this is why y'all got to sign up for Umi's offerings ASAP. Because let me tell you, lay down and think about, what if I was born in 91. I think about, what if I was born in 1990? What if I was born in 1992? It's like, it's like I would be a completely different person if I was born in 1990 or the next year after 91. And I never even, I do have I have some critical degrees in my chart, and I wouldn't know my left foot from my right foot. I wouldn't know how to even, I wouldn't know what to think. Like maybe I should check back to see what was happening the year before. But see, this is what you just shared. This is why I love astrology, because I, I don't know, I wish everyone could love astrology as much as you or I, because it's like this is how you can understand yourself, how you can understand your life. Um, I don't know. How do you see astrology? Do you see it as? I know. Um, During the reading I had with you, you described the chart as like like a medical record, and it's so layered. Like it's a medical record. Like how else do you see the chart?
Medical record, ancestral, so like even like an ancestry.com would be like similar to this, so like your whole biography, your family, your lineage. You could work with transit checks, knowing like, okay, like with the progression you were talking, like we were talking about before, now you're progressed into Virgo. Like that would, now you would look at to see where Virgo sits in your chart, and just like now you can work with real time your moon. So for the next 2.5 years, you're a moon in Virgo that's mutable to your moon square. How does that feel now? Like now you're working in real time. And it's just like it, for like I try not to be like, oh, like you know how they would call it like in religion a holy roller or a Jehovah. Sometimes it's so hard because I'm like, I'm coming to talk to you. I just need to know your sign.
When you're astrology thumping, I don't know.
Yes, exactly. I gotta keep it cool. I gotta keep it cool. And I think that's why I tatted myself to to just like I have it on my face, I have it on my neck, and some of my tattoos I'm like, why do I even have it still? But I feel like it just gives me this thing, like, and you're a Scorpio, so you get it. Like, yo, I'm kind of a weirdo. I'm not trying to scare nobody. I'm just trying to be
Oh
myself.
my god.
But if you come near me, I can't
It's hard.
guarantee that I won't bug out or be a weirdo, and not in a bad way, bug out, more like want to fix you or want to fix something, want to just process things. And that's why I just tatted myself up. So people who come talk to me, I'm like, oh, you a freak, huh? What's up?
Oh my god. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because yeah, once you start, I don't know. I think what's always interesting is like I know that some people are more attracted to like tarot than astrology. Like people are attracted to different things, but like if you're really into astrology, at least for me, sometimes I'm like I don't know why people don't get it or why people make fun of it. Like why aren't people seeing like how the power of this, So I totally understand that because, sometimes people make fun of like astrology nerds. People make fun of astrology nerds, but I mean, I don't know. That I'll just end it there. I'll just end it there. Um, because I didn't know what I was gonna say after that. But so okay, so let's return back to numbers because
Oh, you did it. You did it.
oh
Exactly what I was
what
gonna say after your what you said.
oh
Um, because they're not good at math.
oh
And if they were good at math, they would be like, hmm. Or if they were into science and math, you have to be into, yes, psychology, all that, but you have to be into science. Well, psychology is science and math. So if you enjoy science and math, you would enjoy astrology. You would have a different type of love, like a different, like, of course, if you like psychology, you'll like it. But that's back to your question, like back to your saying, you segue it to numbers. That's exactly why they make fun of it, because they would make fun of like the math kid or the dork who's like wants to figure out the formula to like like, because we do come off that way. Like, ha, 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 I know you. You know what I'm saying? So I
That's
think
so funny. Yeah, but see, that's the thing though. The person who's like, wow, the moon just moved into this degree, and then the other person's like making fun of that person, not, meanwhile, knowing when the planets are moving in different degrees, you're actually in a place of power. So it does go back to like all the nerds and geeks and dorks who are like running the world right now. I don't know. Not those, those particular nerds, but you know what I'm saying. Um yes. That's so funny. I hope no one's getting offended. We just play it. Having fun. So this is a little bit of a lead up, but I've learned so much about, like I said, astrology from you, especially the role of numbers and math and tracking the moon. And so I have two questions. The first one is, um, it's again because I'm also thinking about people who are new to astrology and for people who are seasoned, who are listening. Actually, what is the role of numbers in math and astrology? Because some people already think of it as like, you know, just just a bunch of whatever. Um, and maybe some people who are more familiar with astrology, they're familiar with the chart. You know, they seen some planets in the sky, but it's like at the beginning of my astrology journey, I didn't know anything about numbers. I'll look at the chart. I didn't even see the degrees, you know? And it's right in my face.
the part that pulls you in, I don't know if you,
Oh yeah.
the part that pulls you in is the psychology part at first. Because the first thing you want to do is what is my sign? And what does my sign mean? What are the words? And then, because the same thing here, I was more pulled by the definitions of the signs, and then I went to the numbers because I was looking at the Placidus. But even looking at astrology on a whole, right? The way that it breaks down, the big thing with looking at your natal chart is the 3 9 12.
Mm-hmm.
Three mutable energies, 3 6 9 12. Yep, 3 6 9 12. The mutable energy. The chart cuts up, and that's just mathematics. Also, if we look at the aspects in a natal chart, 120, 90, 45, 360. That's all Pythagorean theorem. That's what that is. That whole. And remember they said Pythagorean theorem has, where are we going to need Pythagorean theorem from? But Pythagoras was so deep into astrology, into astronomy. So it all connects, and everything is like going back to the 360, 270s, 150, all of that lets you know what part of the puzzle, what part of the pie you got, what part of the pie is important to you, and everything. All the universe is a sphere. The Earth, well, okay, we got people who say we got a flat Earth. We got a round Earth, but it was supposed to be for the last how many centuries we thought it was a circle, right? Right. So the sphere, the circle of life. Um, everything being 360, 360 being whole. Your natal chart makes you whole. So it's numbers with degrees, but it's even numbers with it being the pie, being cut into 12 months, a year. Even some could cut it into 13, but regardless, it's the energy of the dynamic of the pie. Still 12, because we're going to look at what the collective has been consciousness in. And this is the formula. But that's the thing with numbers here. And if we know that the pie is numbers, the aspects are numbers in mathematics. We look at every single number. And then even then in progression, it has to go up to 30.
Mhm.
30, part of that Trinity that we're talking about, 30, 90, 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, 360 days.
Mhm. Wow. You know, that reminded me of Nikola Tesla. I think
Yes.
yeah. Didn't he say like the 369 is like a key to the
Mm-hmm.
universe?
I'm
And
pretty
I
sure I'm gonna co-sign you, but I'm pretty sure, yeah.
and I was just like, I didn't start making that connection to astrology until just now when you said that, you know? So it's like there's all of these kind of number and math things going on that have connections that like we need people to help us make these connections. And like people have been known about this, you know? Uh the 369, which I was going to ask you if you feel comfortable sharing. Are there any particular numbers or degrees that you're just really interested in, like, huh? Because I feel really drawn to 9 because it's Jupiter, Jupiter ruled. I feel like I have little obsessions about certain numbers. I don't know if you if there's certain numbers where you're either you like them or they kind of can confuse you a little bit, or you think about them.
So same thing. Same thing with the 9. I actually tatted it on my neck.
Oh,
My neck is 2 9 9s.
oh.
Because I needed to follow the 9 at where I was at in my life. But yeah, there's certain numbers, so that there's certain numbers that I really associated with 9 being the one as well. Coming into a Jupiterian, understanding yourself, becoming that's what I was chasing in 2016, 17, to become a teacher, to become a student again, to travel. I love Jupiterian men for that reason. So 9 is one of those favorite numbers. I love 8 and 20 because they're powerful money degrees,
Mhm.
Scorpio degrees. um, they're willing to take a loss to receive a massive gain. Um, with the script,
Wow.
usually have to. So I love 8 and 20s. 20s is a natural placement. I love all the big ones as well. From 20 to 29, because now we're dealing with the masses. Um, but if we're gonna look at like the more single digit eights, I like it's a little dangerous that degree because in whenever it's an 8 degree at eighth day, eight a Scorpio, like 8 even in the transits, it could be a little dangerous during those days, but it's a powerful resource. I love 27. You're a natural public speaker, a writer.
Mhm.
Because all the 20s are career. I love the 17s, right? You would love a 17. Because then you meet some really powerful people, and it's a fame degree. And you build relationships that can really put you on, like put you in great spaces. Um, and vice versa. So those degrees I really like. There's a few more, but what about your degrees? I know 9.
9, which that's dope that you got that tatted. I didn't even know that. 9, I like 17. I like 17 more than 29, both Leo degrees, cuz I don't know if you feel this way, but I just feel like 17 degrees feels like safe. Because if you have 29 degrees, it's like, I learned it's an anaretic degree that is karmic. And 17 feels like, oh, okay, so I don't know. There's just something about the 29th degree that's sort of like you can get this, but then you also going to get this, and I don't know how to feel about that. I like two, I like two, because two is Taurus and Venus. I don't know. And what else? I tend to think in threes because I'm very mercurial. But I just thought that I was just thinking in threes because I was like, I learned about that 369. And so I said, oh, well, I'm going to connect to three more, not making the connection of Mercury's influence in my chart. So I don't know. It's like there's all these things that could be going on in life, but you don't know how to make the connections, you know. Um, okay. Now, the second question. Learning how to observe what goes on during a daily basis based on tracking the moon from you, like I said, has literally been a game changer in my relationship with the stars. So everything that you're hearing me say, I have other astrology guides that I follow. I listen, I learn a lot from Ari Felix, the Dream Mommy, Jonathan Coe. Um, those are the two that are coming up. But yeah, I've just learned a lot from you. So all of this number talk is because of me being on your Instagram account. But okay, like I was saying, it's cool to see what happens when the moon is in Libra or Taurus or Pisces and track lunar patterns. Like it's crazy to me that every time the moon is in Sagittarius, some type of travel is happening. Or every time the moon is in Pisces, somehow, some way, I'm ending up at a body of water somewhere with my friends or something's going on. Or like I notice when the moon is in Taurus, I end up eating really good. So from your perspective as an astrologer, what are your thoughts on the moon in general? Like, what do you even think about um this luminary? And like, what's your thoughts on the role the moon plays in our personal and collective lives?
So with I feel like that's the and I'm learning from my words. I feel like that's the difference between Vedic and tropical astrology. The moon just flows and is just more of a significance um here, like in the Western. It follows like everyone, even if you're into astrology, into the metaphor, into this space or not, into astronomy, you'll know that it's a full moon tonight. It's a full moon tonight. So the moon is a great way to track the days, like very quickly too. So 2.5 days, the moon transits, the emotions of the collective within hours. Because if you look at the moon degree, when you're doing current planets, that will shift within at least an hour and a half. It'll shift into another um, degree. So within an hour and a half, we'll say, give and take. If I want, it's 55 minutes, right? So, but it could still, like, depending on months, if it's leap, stuff like that, depending on how it, like, how it transits. But the moon can transit even by, help you understand even by the hour. So I just give myself like a wiggle room, an hour and a half to see how long it transits. But you'll see that within that time, the moon is transiting. And this could even give it by degrees. So 55 minutes, it'll go into the next degree, go into the next degree. And then within that time, for between 2.5 days, it'll move into the next sign. And if you follow those numbers follows those numbers next to the moon by the hour, and you know your degree theory, you'll be able to pinpoint it by hour, hour, hour. And the moon helps you do that. The full
Wow,
moon,
it's
you know, that
amazing.
people, like this upcoming full moon, we know that people are going to, everyone's going to watch it. So just knowing the the placements. Taurus. So we're gonna have a Taurus energy coming in with Scorpio, right? So Scorpio energy. That's gonna give us. We know that everyone's gonna be watching it on a resource level, strongly
Mhm.
on a relationship level. Um, and that's what's in the moon. The moon's helping you do that. But definitely with
Mhm.
the numbers by the hour,
Mhm.
you can use the moon. Mm-hmm.
So it's, the moon is like I don't even know. I just feel like the moon I feel is like the most important celestial body. I they all, all the planets, all of them are like, I don't want to put like a value, like one's more important than the other, but I just noticed how like the moon takes us through the day, every day, and it just seems like the the celestial body that we can really relate to because of what you just said, you know? So do you work with the moon? It sounds like you work with the moon like regularly. Like that's just a regular practice for you.
Yeah. So it's I go by the hour. I look at a degree, especially if it's like it pushes me to, like, especially if it's a clumsy degree. I'm like, where's the moon at right now? And also if you do perfections, that's a big basis on how, like, where the rising is connecting. So the rise is connecting with the moon, and then that will be like a lunar energy where the moon out, where the moon out. If you look at your perfections on a daily level, but I follow the moon by hour. I know 2.5 days. The moon is going to change. There's this website called Moon Tracks. I would advise everyone to use Moon Tracks daily, just to know where the collective is within their emotions. Um, Very important.
Yes. This is why I love the moon. I tend to lean toward the moon, but I'm also, exploring my like the sun and solar solar consciousness, trying to connect to that light. So, so there is a let me wait, hold on real quick. So you know, maybe this kind of is a repeating question, but I like how you connect time, patterns, and prediction. And I think sometimes people don't understand that a lot of predictions astrologers make are based on like patterns that, you've researched, other people have researched, and like people have been tracking these patterns for a while. I hope this makes sense. And I noticed that you are a very gifted in picking up on patterns in astrology. So, you know, as someone who is aware of and observes astrological patterns, um, how do you work with these patterns to navigate life and even improve your life? Because it's like there are people out there who aren't thinking about all this, but you're a person who's aware of all these things happening. So, like, how do you live your life?
This is a great question because yesterday I was and it gives me validation. Yesterday I was talking to my boyfriend and I was like, I wish I had a team of people who would just keep me on track with these transits, and we would just be our own group of people who check in with each other every day to see where we're at collectively and how we can make this happen. Because if you're doing it alone, you got to be a vicious person. Like, let me not say vicious, calculated. And that's where I feel like I need to always balance out, where I don't become too calculated, that I lose the fun of things. But I also need this because a true astrologer is someone that feels like they need to find their own medicine. They need to figure out they need to be their own parent. They need to be their own, and I don't say God, like God on like some sort of divination. They would need like the understanding, whoever would dive into this. Um, but I also, it helps me give myself grace. If I know that today's a day that's, and no offense to the Geminis, but if it's a Gemini moon, Gemini month, Gemini perfection, this is gonna be some
Oh my
clumsy ass
god.
shit.
I feel like there needs to be a whole comedy show on the sides, especially Gemini. I like the Gemini jokes. I think they're funny.
So that's just the only
Some
time
some people be taking offense, but like I think it's funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, 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 you're right. I love the energy. It's in my midpoint, it's my midheaven. So I love the energy. Geminis are brilliant, they're smart. But it could be a day that becomes where you have to really put your thinking cap on. You have to be conscious of other people's foolishness, where you have to think for other people and help them find their words. And maybe you don't feel like doing it that day, especially as someone who's me, who's super fixed. So I'm just like, yo, did you come with your stuff already? Because I just need to do what I need to do. So I may not enjoy those days. And I feel like on a collective level, Gemini energy puts you on your toes and needs you to put on your thinking cap. So it gives me grace. So even after I was saying this day would give me grace. Gemini season would give me grace. Mutable months, mutable days give me grace. Because when I realized nothing went the way it was supposed to go, it's completely just anything goes. Um, it's okay if I didn't get all my things done today, if I didn't check off everything off my checklist. That's great. It also gives me days, fixed days where I can enjoy myself. It gives me cardinal days where I need to get some paperwork going. I need to get some, like today's my Capricorn day. So that's going to be a long day. I'm going to have to do some like things that are going to help me professionally. But look at that. I planned out my whole month. I'm chilling while
Mhm.
everyone's going crazy. I'm like, well, it was my Gemini day. That's why I stayed home. You know what I mean? Like, it was my Aries days. That's why I tried not to get mad at anyone today. um,
Mhm.
know better, and that's how it helps me. But if you want to, you can change your life with this, but you have to become calculated, and you have to find a group of people who support you in the fact that you want to learn this, so you don't feel like you're crazy when you have a Pisces day and you're like, don't call me, my phone's completely off, because you're like, why did I feel that way yesterday? And it helps you get it. So I don't know.
I feel
I
that. I feel that. Yeah, I think that's so important. Like to find a community of people you can check in with when the stars are moving around, things are happening, and yeah, it's like an interesting mix of like what's going on. You want to work with what's going on, but maybe you don't want to like maybe it's like I don't know, trying to find a balance, trying to find what feels good cuz I mean, I do think it's interesting like for astrologers in particular. Like these are people who are literally knowing what's going on with uh, planets in the actual solar system that are impacting us on Earth. Like everyone's not walking around, they might have a certain amount of astrology knowledge, but everyone's not walking around knowing all the different dimensions of astrology, which brings me to my next question. There's this saying, as above, so below, as within, so without, that I feel really captures the essence of astrology. And this has a little bit of a lead up also. So throughout my astrology studies, I've heard not to think about astrology as the cause of XYZ. Like astrology is not responsible for that plane crash that happened. It's not responsible for the tech glitches. It caused you to take that trip to Fiji. And I feel like this has been kind of hard for me to understand because like it's hard to like see some certain it's hard to see certain Uranus transits and then the plane falls out of the sky. And I'm just like, I don't understand how do I understand this? So I started thinking of astrology like and life as mirrors where like life is reflecting what's going on above. And I'm like, what I'm trying to say is that's what I settled on. Like it's a mirror. Life is mirroring what's going on above. And I'm like I'm kind of rushing a little bit. And I'm like, what are your thoughts on all this? Because sometimes I want to tell people, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go test all of this out. You know, you don't got to take anybody's word. You could test out Mercury retrograde. You could test out the moon transiting. So, like, what do you feel about that?
I'm going to piggyback on what you said because it's perfect. What is it's mirroring life. And I'm just going to add on to that. It's mirroring life, and there's many things that can do that. Like I'm an astrologer, but people who do tarot, I have a very huge respect for them because they're looking at things through very deep in their sensory, which is just another language to them doing cards and then saying the same thing. A glitch is happening is going to happen tomorrow because they have just this understanding with it. Astrologers just have it with math, with numbers,
Mhm.
with understanding that every day adds up to something. There's an addition to it. So we can find out the circle, that's the whole circle, the whole chapters of life. Um, just like someone who has just psychic ability to do their dreams, they don't even need to touch anything. They have a formula that mirrors what is happening in the world. Um, there's maybe not astrologers, but I'm pretty sure there's people who probably do um, all science through some sort of maybe looking at the chemistry in the air, maybe looking at, what's happening with climate, maybe looking at things in those types of patterns, and then finding their language to what mirrors life. Um, Everyone has their language, and this is just a specific language. I feel for those who are interested in understanding the numbers, understanding nature. It's a very elevated form of not a knowledge understanding. You got to really be into this. It never sleeps. It's like a machine that just keeps going and going and going. This thing never stops. It doesn't take a break. So just looking at it like that, you're doing intense research. So if you're not a researcher, so it's just one of those languages. But you're right. It's mirroring life. It's a sacred way of mirroring life that few people truly learn to align with. It's a way of life because it's a
Mhm.
language that is specifically for certain types of people. Not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone, like, even
Mhm.
if you tell 20 people study, they won't click for them. Like some people who just click and then they just
Mhm.
change their lives.
That's a good point that like different like languages or sacred arts, uh people are attracted to different kinds of languages and sacred arts. And maybe I need to hear that because I'm like, I want you to please study astrology, but maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Maybe I should say like go find what sparks your curiosity, what lights you on fire, or lights your inner fire. Um Thank you for sharing that because I've always wanted to ask that because sometimes that can be confusing, you know? And I'm glad that I found a language that I resonate with. Um, speaking of,
I want to piggyback on
yeah.
like even how to connect it because astrology is also would be considered, and that's why I love it so much. Like we want to put it in the science world, of course. We want it to be so big and like high academics, which it is, but it's so like it's still like pop culture or like pseudoscience that it's part of the creative arts, language arts as well, which now makes it so fun and able to keep it like goofy, even though we
Mhm.
like astrologers would want us to be in like freaking Harvard or Columbia, but sometimes you got to end up at, maybe the Fashion Institute on the low.
FIT?
Yes,
Yeah.
So, what I would tell someone who's trying to like, or they're in environments and they want people to understand, follow the energy, like just figure out the energy of the day. So if it's Taurus, show them through your actions that today we're gonna listen to some good music. We're gonna eat some good food. You're gonna enjoy it for some reason. Um, Live that way. Live through this. Like
Mhm.
they're going to be like, how did you know this about yourself? And they're going to follow you because you're living through this authentically. I think that's going to help you a lot because then, or anyone a lot. It helped me a lot because then now you start to embody the energy further than astrology.
Mm.
Like I work like, okay, I'm gonna try to wear green. I know I'm getting into a green time. I'm Taurus Moon, so I wear green. And then I wear green. Green comes, baby. So that green energy and embody your chart. And people will be like, oh my God, find out mine.
Yes.
And
Oh, I love that. I'm taking that wholeheartedly. I'm taking that. That's exactly what I want to do. Thank you. That was like this like a golden nugget or a piece of opal, something. Just a gem. Um Yeah, I feel it right in my heart. That's exactly what I want to do. Um, so I was also going to ask you, since we talking about the as above, so below. I know I first got into astrology in 2018 because there's a lot of things going on in my life that were just shocking. Uranus, I think there's a lot of kind of prominent Uranus energy in my chart that makes life intense. And I know what was going on. So I was just curious, have you ever had a life-changing transit? It could be like you had the best birthday party, or you met somebody, you went to school. You ever had a life-changing transit?
Yeah, and this is what I like about astrology as well. Same time, I got pregnant in 2018. Uranus, since it was in Taurus, it aspect my moon. So ever Uranus was aspecting you and my sun. So you're a Scorpio. So it definitely would have gave you an identity. Same thing.
Mhm.
I'm a Scorpio too. So you'll meet 5 Scorpios that would be like, yo, 2018 shook my world up, Lord.
It
So
did.
I got pregnant. And I went through a whole change. And when it aspect, it also asked. We're born 91, so it also
Mhm.
aspect our Saturn. So we're like
Oh, Lord.
the world. Look what's happening to the world during this time, and the build up through that. So that was similar to you. 2014. So 2012 to 2014 was big for me. Saturn was in Scorpio. That was causing all types of different havoc around my big three. So that was big. And this is another thing, it validates. Like I'm validated now. Oh, I was
Mhm.
supposed to just do some bugged out stuff in 2018. It made me. It Uranus me. Thank you. And now that I know the terminology, the definitions, I was like, yo, I should have bugged out some more then. I probably would have been famous already. Since I was in Uranus, I should just went buck wild. So when it comes again, when Uranus comes into Gemini and whoever like you, it's gonna aspect
Mhm.
you again now. Um, where you now do some very Uranus
Oh, Lord.
type things in a Gemini way. Like you go live somewhere where you're like, yo, I gotta be in the know because it's gonna like push you to be in communities that relate to your work. It's gonna push you to say things unapologetically. Like I said what I said. You know what I'm saying?
Period.
So many people through this transit on a very personal level. And you could bug out. Like, so if you dye your hair green and you like do anything, like, it would be perfectly normal. So I think these transits that can seem so heavy validates and also gives you a time to know that everyone gets a turn. So that's how I look at it. Everyone gets a turn to be up. Everyone gets a turn to not be so up. Um, and if you already know when that's coming, you know how much power, like not power, but awareness, self-awareness you'll have. Yeah, self of power, the power of self you'll have knowing that, oh, I'm about to have a crazy square come or a crazy
Oh,
conjunction.
my gosh. Woo! Well, thank you for saying that, because yeah, Uranus rocked my world, and I tend to buckle up whenever Uranus starts doing something, because with that surprise factor, I I don't know what's gonna, but I see Uranus in me. I see when I make decisions how I move. So it's an interesting planet, but it's interesting and nice to know that in 2018 you also, as a Scorpio sun, was going through it, and life was, you know I don't know, the ground was shifting.
And you're
Oh
in
my god, what'd you
shook,
say?
just shook like in Scorpio, and then you look at fixed signs because it was in fixed. Now the mutables are about to get, but I feel like Uranus likes air. I feel like it would like it likes it. It's exalted in Scorpio. It's exalted in Scorpio, which is great, right? But that's for like, are you willing to platonic to bring in these types of changes? With Gemini, I feel like it's just going to open up more of where our information is. So I feel like this transit with Uranus coming into Gemini is pretty good, but the Uranus and Taurus, complete opposites. Like Uranus, Taurus is like, what are you talking about? My stuff are just gonna vanish from my hands. Like people are just gonna stop being my friend. Like
Oh
whoa.
my god.
So that was like a tough
Yeah.
Uranus.
Yeah, it's been something else with Uranus in Taurus, like I can't wait. I can't wait until it leaves because yeah, like you said, the fixed signs are connected to money and resources, and you see all the stuff going on. Um,
Uranus and
I,
Taurus. I barely got, and you want me to give? And I barely got. That's what Uranus and Taurus was.
I think about that all the time.
You want us to help people, and we barely have.
I literally think about that all the time. I said, look, if I was, I'm gonna start meandering. Let me come back. I think about that a lot. You know what's something that's so interesting about your work is that you share a lot about astrology and family dynamics, whether it's about parents, a partner, children. And I've had a chance to go over my grandmother and my mother's astrology charts and most of my siblings' charts. And it's actually really fascinating to see where everybody's placements are, and have fun kind of playing around being like, oh, this might happen, this might happen. Um so for people who've not really thought about astrology and family, like what connections could a person make seeing their chart alongside, say, their parents or their grandparents chart, or next to their siblings chart?
First thing I love to share, like when I do this, like when I have mommy and me's, I have family sessions, and even when I do the natal chart, I want you to reflect on your parents' experience. Um, the first few things is it helps you feel validated, and that's what life is about. That I don't go through things for no reason. That things are just like it's not just happening because of nothing. Like everything has a purpose, and this gives you validation knowing that if you had a moon that's uncomfortable, if you have a sun that's uncomfortable, where there's just been a natural friction with a parent, and that it was almost destined. Like, yeah, it was destined, and you now know, like, you have to ask yourself, now that has this has been validated, how do I want to keep it? Do I want to keep it in a way where it's issues for, like, and depending on what issues means, but it gives you validation, and now you could work from that. It also lets you know that when you have children, you know what can happen, like the placements, and placements lets you know what your child is experiencing before and after the conception, what the energy is. So if and this is why you can have children with malefic placements, because something during their conception had malefic things going on, heavy things, troubling things, or things that weren't as of smooth as home as well aspected placements would benefics would be. And that just helps a lot, putting things next to each other. Validation, like, so let's say your moon is way more mature than your mother's moon or your father's moon. Now they'll validate you in realizing why you thought your own parents were childish all your life.
Hmm.
Let's say you have a childish moon, because looking at your moon, and the moon is such an important placement. And with ancestral astrology, like with like looking at your natal chart from a family, the sun and moon have to come together, because it's not till the sun goes down that we see the moon goes up, and it's not until the moon goes, like the sun comes up, that the moon goes down. So that energy there, where it illuminates, it has to be together. And this lets you know in ancestral astrology, well, in family astrology, that the sun and moon must work together to really build this individual. So if you have a moon that is afflicted to your sun, how this could have showed natural discord between your mother and father. It never was supposed to happen. It was always supposed to be a little shaky here. And now how that gives you forgiveness for your parents.
Hmm.
And that's helped me a lot. Like knowing that my parents' moons completely quincunx my moon, like it just would never have understood each other. And that's why I never could live home.
Hmm.
Thank you. It was for no reason. I was getting kicked out for a reason. No, thank makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So that helps you with this. And it also helps you open up forgiveness for your children to have for you.
Hmm.
Push doing your children's charts. I look at your chart from a child's mind, like a child's perspective that grew up into an adult. Um, One of the most powerful family astrology and the degrees, transits, things like that. Powerful, one of the most powerful ways to look at your natal chart.
Wow. I feel that power. I feel, yeah, I feel that. And I mean, I don't even have any words because it helps you understand a lot of the relationships with your family and your parents too, like to understand why you grew up a certain way, maybe why certain things haven't changed. But I love how you're saying that it's not just kind of understanding why XYZ might have happened or is happening, but it helps you understand your family members so that there's grace or forgiveness or compassion. um and I want to lean more into that because um I don't know, I think about my grandmother's chart, and I also think about my mom too. My mom's an Aquarius sun, and I'm a Scorpio sun. So, and there's a lot I could say, but like, just it goes back to, again, you wouldn't know your left foot from your right foot, and then someone's like, well, hey, let me look at let me help support you in understanding your family constellation more through astrology. And I know you just said it, but for people for people in the back, I don't know, for people who need to hear it again, like, how might parents knowing and understanding their children's astrology help them with parenting and supporting their child? Because sometimes I think people need to hear things again. Not everybody, but like, why? Tell us again.
I was gonna piggyback off you. You said it perfectly. Like to better assist your children so they can give you grace to understand your parents. Okay, let's say they have a placement in their chart where they learned they it was afflicted in having communication. You can understand why they gave you silent treatments or why they couldn't. And once you get that understanding, you're light years ahead. You're light years ahead. Because whatever
Mhm.
your children, whatever you procreate, and you'll also be mindful of what you procreate in. You'll be like, all right, let me get this checked up, let me get that checked up, or let me like you'll just be mindful, especially if you see patterns of like your children, because you'll see that as well. Beautiful. One of the highest ways, the best, one of the greatest ways to look at astrology is from a parental child like development point of view. You're ahead of the game.
Yes. I don't know if I ever have children, but if I ever had children, I would be doing this ASAP because I know that my mom being an Aquarius sun, for some reason there's some type of Aquarius Uranus energy going on with me and some of my siblings. So I don't know. I think it just would have been cool. Like, what would it have been like if, she had, if this type of service was available for her when she was younger. And, and I don't know. You're the first astrologer I came across who does these types of readings. So shout out to any of the parents, caregivers, legal guardians out there. You want to understand more about your children, your teens, go hit up Umi. um, yes. Don't sleep. Okay, so, and this ties into the next one. This question's kind of deep, but I literally have always wanted to ask this question. Um, so on episode 5, I interviewed Joelle Arvea, who's a traditional midwife, because you already said it. I think first and foremost, people's pregnancy and birthing experiences can impact their life tremendously. And I'm interested in how birth and pregnancy impact astrology, because that keeps me up at night. I just feel like, wow, I literally could have been this version or this version or this version based on what was going on with my parents and the pregnancy and the birth. Um, and like I said, I'm not sure I'll ever have children, but sometimes I wonder, like, how can I give my children the best astrological future they could possibly have, which is what you're literally providing through your service, is helping parents do that. And it's like, are there any ways, maybe this is another way of asking the same question, but are there any ways people can work with their natal charts and their astrology to influence the astrology of their descendants? Because, I mean, I don't know about saying this, but I'll just say it. I have Saturn. I have a very frustrating Saturn placement. And it's like, wow, I would wish this on nobody. So, if I was to have children, and of course, you need to know the house, okay, I'll just say I have Saturn in the second house, and that's very frustrating to me. And it's like, how could I help my children to not have this?
So we could look at it in a few ways, right? So that's your bloodline. Then you would look at dad's bloodline, or their partner's bloodline. See what they have got going on to see it, because two people gotta come together to see if their Saturn has a better affliction, like a better aspect. Because that could also show where they would go to that side of the family for that. Okay, like my partner, he has my boyfriend, he has a sign. He has Saturn in the second house as well. He's a Capricorn energy. Yep, Saturn in the second, third house. Depending on
That's
what
me.
pole
That's
or
me. Yes, I'm a cusp on the third house, but it's in the second house in my progress chart.
resources, money, having, attaining, feeling like there's a sense of what do I value, also where you feel like you were stumped in the second house of learning all the things you desire, learning your sense of create. Maybe it wasn't until after your Saturn return you realized you were creative, that you had multiple gifts in the Venus area, in the Venetian spaces. Maybe you even started to touch into that, right? But let's say your partner. I mean, you find a partner who has Saturn in an exalted, Saturn in the seventh, another Venus house. So like, all right, we're gonna help balance this out, or we give our child at least like a balanced energy, or the kid will just go to Saturn, to the houses to that chart of a parent that is more well aspect in this area. It would be like a curse or like like example of Saturn. I'll give another example: Saturn in 12 or Saturn in. Okay, yeah, Saturn in 12. They come from a family that like they come from the family. That's their karma. That's in their bloodline to do 12th house things. That's in their bloodline to do second house things. That's their karma. Okay, just using this as an example, doesn't say it's not saying it's you. On so and so side, they got money issues over there. You always have things and they don't have things no more.
Mm,
So when they go over there, they got something Saturnian going in the Venus house.
mm,
And more like, just want to open that up.
yeah.
That would be the family's, your lineage's issue. Especially since your mom is Saturnian associated. So she got to have some Capricorn in there. She's Aquarius.
Hmm.
Got to have some Saturn aspects there. And she's also a Saturnian energy in general, like associated with Saturn. So they would be like, okay, that's on her mama's side. They always got some. So that's what your
Yep.
Saturn does.
Yep. That's exactly how the conversation would go. If you was sitting on the porch somewhere, the barbershop somewhere, that's exactly how it would go. And I feel like, I feel like maybe that could be normalized, because astrology is like the weather. You talking about the weather, and we all got astrology, and it's sort of like just addressing the elephant in the room so that, the next folks don't have to be dealing with all this. I'm not trying to deal with all this, you know? I love that. And I felt kind of anxious asking this because sometimes I think if you're new to astrology, or maybe you don't understand certain elements of what you're saying, it could be off-putting. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean that I have karma? Or what do you mean? Or what are you trying to say? But I just hope that people give astrology a chance. Like, if you're curious about it, that first you're a professional astrologer, but also that, you know, there is something to what like we're talking about here, and I'm just glad to know that our charts, you can trace what's been going on in your family and your ancestry and change it. That's the thing, you can change it.
Got
Um
Just got to become aware of what you're trying to change and what your change like however that means to you, and just through what because now that you could stop like the whatever is a malefic or whatever is, or you can become like make everyone aware of it so they know. Like I have Saturn in seventh house. On the descendant I have Saturn, and It's true. Like the women in my family, for some reason, they can just have love woes, everything. They'll have a good job, they'll have a good family, but for some reason, when it comes to making relationships outside of their family, we just have issues. Like that's why we're all so close because it's like, or we like well, my Saturn's in the seventh. I don't know how my cousins, but I know in my family that's a big thing. Like me and my siblings, so super close. But when it comes to dating or making friendships, I realize this is something that is in my lineage. It's our karma. And we were no like no one really comes to the house after like especially now as we're older. I have to visit my mom so we are the ones that are like visiting. So we just have this relationship thing going on. But that's probably because we maybe come from a lineage of awkwardness, a lineage of not always having the right making the right company, making the right friends. So that's a Saturn that it's exalted in the seventh house. It's in Aquarius. I'm grateful for that because I meet great people. I meet real creatives. I meet people that I couldn't believe I'll meet them. But on the personal level, it could be a little difficult because I'm meeting all these great people, but I still need a bestie. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
that's where it's hard. Like I'm here, like meeting people that are like, "You met them?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm still like, "But I wish I could just sit on the couch and just eat ice cream with somebody on a
I
Sunday."
know. I know. Yeah. I feel that. Having a best friend. What's that song? What's that song? Something. My best friend. Something, 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 something. I forgot
Who
who
by
sings.
50? By 50 Cent?
Or no, what's that song? I think it's my best friend. Da 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 da. Da. I can't. I can't.
I
Yeah, something like that.
wish I knew the
Man,
lyrics, and I hear it all the time. I don't know why I can't get the lyrics.
wait. Now I gotta look it up. See, hold on real quick. Um.
Just sweetie.
Oh yeah, my best friend. Lyrics. Sawini.
Yeah, sweetie. I just know.
Oh, Sawiti. Yeah, that's right. That's my best friend. Oh yeah, she a real bad bitch.
Yeah,
Got her
there
own
you
money.
go.
I see. Yeah, I need a best friend. I feel that. I love friendship movies. All movies on Netflix. Not all movies, but a lot of movies on Netflix with friends. Those are my movies. I love a good friendship movie.
One that really stuck with me, like for like a little bit, Firefly Lane.
Hmm.
Um,
I never
it,
heard of that.
it's Firefly, yeah, Firefly Lane. It's on Netflix, and it's like two best friends. I've watched Girlfriends too much, so I need to like put that on like wait another 20 years. So I watched it under a decade. I'm the 2 decades, so that's I need another decade. So, but I love that show. I love Friends. I mean, not Friends. I said Friends. I love Girlfriends. Um,
Yes.
Same thing. It's probably our Saturn because our Saturn's in
Mm.
Aquarius, and transit wise, that showed where we had to social distance. So, Saturn Aquarius, our Saturn return, we were social distancing and we couldn't even barely be around people. 2021, 20, and 22. So, hey, that's what I feel like our Saturn's about making.
Ah, making friends. I- I'm glad I just survived my Saturn return. I think maybe that's a story I have running. I'm always surviving astrology. I gotta change my story. Um,
I think it's a
that's
Scorpio thing.
oh look. If only there could be a documentary series interviewing Scorpios.
We'd be so dark, right? Or we'll be like, we're not even trying to be dark. I did a picture in my mind of because I'm trying to do animation and I'm trying to like my daughter's really into it. And I'm like, am I gonna have to wait 10 years? So I'm trying to do like my own animation because she like showed me a website. And Scorpio is like this fuzzy outside huggy person that you'd be like, oh my God, and a little awkward, like awkward too, but there's something fuzzy and non-threatening about how they look, right? Unless you're a Scorpio rising. That's when you do look like what it is. Uh, but then when you talk to them, you're like, yo, why are you so dark? You don't even look like relax. Like, why? And then we don't even feel that way. We feel like we're just being serious and straight to the to the catch. But we're also goofy. It's like the weirdest. Whenever I think of Scorpio, I think of we do not look like who we are. Like, and people think that we're playing, and we're really not. Like Plankton. Plankton has to have Scorpio placements because he like wants to take over the world so bad. He's so evil, but he's so small that everyone's like, Plankton, you're so cute. You're doing your stupid plan again.
Oh my gosh. I love that example. I think that's on purpose. I think that's something with Scorpio. Scorpio was like, I'm gonna come here and look all cute and cuddly. Y'all won't know a thing.
You all have a master plan.
Oh my god, this little, evil laugh. Ha 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 ha. I don't know. That's great. I love that. Shout out to friendship movies, friends, best friends. I have about three more questions. Two of them, they're kind of fun, I have one last question that's, you know, poetic, serious, whatever. But these last two questions. So it seems like more and more people are getting into astrology. Do you think celebrities, businesses, and even the government work with astrology? Because you made a post one time when Megan the Stallion, when she was coming up after that, that altercation with Tory, I don't know how to say his last name, Tory Lanes,
Mhm.
and she was like rising after that situation. And I'm sure it was you. You were like, no, she's using astrology. Like her team is using astrology. Do you think celebrities, businesses, the government, people out here using astrology, working with astrology?
Definitely. Definitely. And if it's not astrology direct, some sort of divination, and I feel that for all celebrities, I feel like that would be where um someone like a psychic, someone like an astrologer, um, would go towards energy healer. Like they would go towards that. Because these are the spaces where people want to pay for their peace of mind, want to pay for when, success and anything successful. I feel like that's why astro.com, they have all the celebrities' birthdays there. They're giving, and sometimes I'm even shocked that it'll say in hand birth certificate, in hand view. And I'm like, wow, okay, these people actually, because some it'll be like like they verified it in their book or something, but this would be like in hand. They went to someone, and this would be the world. Like that would be. I feel like as an astrologer, you would go towards. You would want to help celebrities. They're gonna pay, or people who have that kind of stature. They're gonna pay you often. You probably be on payroll, you because you need to help them find out the next Grammy, the next
Mhm,
stock, the next, so you have to stay on payroll because they're hitting you up all hours. They could be hitting you up all hours of the day. You're their advisor. So definitely, because these people have more to lose. Like they have more to gain and lose on this realm, this earth realm. So they need you to help them understand everything outside. They got the money already. They just need to know how to keep it. So
mhm,
definitely, as an astrologer, and you're trying to make some good money or some good pay, good lifestyle, you would go into these areas. But but in general, helping all people is important. That's why I love to give free information. Like I feel like I just sometimes I have to tell myself, like, you gotta survive here. You can't just be giving it. But I'm so excited um, um, to share it. And I also know it's complex. So the few will understand, the few will understand. Some people just resonate and they're just like, thank you, but they don't want to do the studying. And it's okay. Um, but I feel like if you want to make that kind of living, and just people who are serious in it, that's the thing with public figures. They want to get that next Grammy. They want to get that next
mhm,
Oscar. So they're going to be way more, tell me, like, I need to know, like, more than anything. Anyone doesn't have to be a celebrity. It could be anyone who's like at the top of a company. So another thing, geographically, the East are very big
The
on
East?
the
Oh, the
East,
East. Mhm,
really big on astrology, divination,
mhm,
um, from like if we were going to look at it from the Middle East to even parts of like Asia and East, like the East would just really be the East in general. So yeah, so in just that whole area where there's like the Indian, like Arabic, those they're really into this gods. And
mhm,
that's some of the biggest parts of the financial world. Um, these places that are in like Dubai, like even parts of Africa, like they will eat the East.
mhm,
They're really into this, and that's where a lot of like natural resources are. A lot of money, economic energy is. So even geographically, um, astrology would be towards the higher ups, the kings and queens of these areas. They're going to go towards that. They believe in pagan. They believe in these types of things. They believe in magic. Their life is magic to certain people. So definitely, this is a very like the quote says, millionaires, billionaires use astrology because this is very this is a life change. What? You could track
Yes.
on astrology. I track my money days because I'm a fixed sign, and you could track that. I'm tracking it off you right now, you being a Scorpio. That means that
Mhm.
in the next day, like the next few hours, I'm going to get some sort of resource. That
Mhm.
like you vice versa. We're about to
Wow.
go off of each other because we're shared resources. So, and I just knew that because of your sign.
Wow. See, I haven't gotten to that point yet. That's the next area that I want to explore is like tracking my money days because I finally settled on, learning from you that the fixed signs are connected to money, resources, resourcefulness. Um and yeah, that's powerful to track that. And I just feel like the reason why I asked that question is because, I don't know, I feel like, some people might roll their eyes at astrology, but you have celebrities working with astrology, businesses, I even think the government. If I'm not correct, I was going to Google it really quick. I met someone that said there's a building in DC that has the zodiac wheel on the ceiling, and I can't remember if they said it's Congress. Let me just look up really quick. This is zodiac wheel Congress ceiling. Sorry, I know this is awkward.
Oh,
See, it
oh,
says the
good.
Library of Congress's Jefferson Building features zodiac imagery on its ceiling in the main reading room. So it's like, folks, I just, I want the everyday person to know that like people are out here working with astrology, and so it's like, why not you too? You know? Um, oh, I think. Uh-oh. And um, so I was just saying, and I have one more playful question before the last question. It is 12:30, or maybe I could just stick to that because I was going to ask you. I've been looking at certain celebrity charts, and I was going to ask if there are certain celebrity charts that are really interesting to you. But we could put that question on hold because I want to honor your time. This is my last question. Um, So finally, as a seasoned astrologer, is there anything about astrology that you know about that can, continuously fills you with awe and wonder? Like is there just something that you know about, it's old news, but you're still like, wow, this is amazing.
Degree theory.
Degree theory.
Ah,
Yeah.
game changing. It helps me even like with driving. Like if I
Hmm.
get off an exit, if it's an exit 17, if it's a fixed exit, I already know I'm gonna go near a food court. I don't have to worry. If it's a cardinal, I'm gonna be able to use the bathroom. If it's a cardinal, I gotta be conscious. I gotta be careful with this only because I'm gonna end up in territory where there could be a lot of construction. Cardinal. There could be also like culture clash. Like I shouldn't be on this side of the this side of the town, or what side of the town am I on? Like when I start looking at the people, the culture. So that's cardinal. Also, it'll take me a long time to get out of the town. There's something about the timing. Either I could get out, it takes too long, or like something with time is going to be important with this cardinal. When it's mutable, get ready to come to an intersection. Get ready to get your thinking cap on because some dumb shit could happen any second after you get off this. It could even be a theme where there's some sort of like trucking, like car hub, things like that. But it's definitely some sort of intersection, mutable energy where you're gonna have to like really wait for your turn and watch the road. That's just me knowing numbers. I mean,
Wow.
like 17, if there's an exit 17, I'm gonna find me a restaurant, a few good restaurants, places I could sit and chill. Um, if it's 20 degrees, those are usually the ramps, the dangerous ramps.
Wow.
dangerous. So it's usually slow down. It's 20 mile. It's a 20 degree, like a 20 exit. Like the exit is 20, and also there's a 20 sign coming in. That's another thing too with the traffic signs. They're numbers, and even through that, it can let you know what you're driving into. So degree theory, man, I love it. I don't care. Anytime I'm like, oh, every time I'm like, oh, even watching games, scores, a channel, your dashboard, degree theory. Psh.
Oh my gosh. Yo. Well, I noticed you do offer a degree theory class or numbers and magic. Can you share a little bit more before we end? What are your offerings?
I did a degree theory course, like numbers and magic. I did that last year. Right now I'm doing a human development workshop. That's for next week, the 23rd and the 24th. And we do have a segment where we talk about degree theory. I talk about the most clumsiest degrees, the most dangerous degrees. And that's something you should really watch out for when it comes to like degrees that are like Martian or Platonic, because then you'll know that on the collective and on a personal level, something chaotic can be happening, like can happen, or something that is Martian or Platonic can happen. And I talk about that as well. I talk about all the degrees when it comes to like the brackets that they're in, the single digit, double digit, and the upper 20s, and we're going to talk about that and how to work with that energy. I also talk about like the exits that we just spoke about, like when you're driving. I talk about that in this workshop that's next week, the 23rd and the 24th. And that's my favorite one. I feel like that's even one that has given me a little bit of an edge in how I do horoscopes, because I can help you by the
Yes.
hour. What?
That's wild. Wow, numbers and math. Magic.
Yes, numbers are magic.
Amazing. Well, Umi, I'm so grateful for your time, your work in the world. Thank you so much for meeting me at the through line. Is there anything else you have on your heart that you want to share?
Get your natal chart. Find an astrologer that you, if you're like unsure, um, well, here's the push. Go get a natal chart. Get one that's recorded so that you can listen to later on. Get one for your children. Like once you find the joy and the excitement, record those as well. Save them for your kids. As they get older, just really learn, like this is a way to figure yourself out. So if you've been struggling, you've been trying to find certain answers, and you're willing to study for it, get your natal chart. Take on a natal class, like take on a natal chart astrology class for beginners. Try it out. Find one that's interactive so you can ask questions. Um, Come to me.
Yes, go to Umi, please. Please, I will put all your links in the show notes so people know where to find you. And yeah, I just want to encourage folks to connect with Umi.
I appreciate
Thank
you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And I will see you on